Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's been so long, but I'm back. Had some stuff to sort out and to just generally get better at what I do. So today what we got here is a JCB hydraulic breaker, HM25, and replacing all the seals, all of the O-rings, the diaphragm, and then regassing it because it came in with low gas and it wasn't working. So what I'm doing here is just taking out the nitrogen plug. And then inside the plug, after we get in there, there's a little 4mm Allen key that you undo to release the gas. And I use this impact wrench now because sometimes it can be proper tight to get out, and I've spent hours trying to loosen them up with no avail. So would highly suggest one of them if you're going to do it. That was the remainder of the gas coming out of it. And usually when they're full of gas, they come out pretty quickly, so that you could tell that there was like no gas in there. So what I'd done here is I'd got an Allen key stuck in the pivot pin in the handle, and I was just doing everything I could to get it out really. And as you can see, it would not come out, so I just give up and was like, I'll do it later, it's fine. We'll just carry on with the dismantling. So also what was funny about it is I didn't even need to take it out. I didn't even need to take the handles off. I could have done it all with leaving them on, but there you go, hindsight. So just cleaning it all up now, just getting all of the debris off, checking if there's any damage underneath there, and then loosening up the bolts, because I'm pretty sure this one had never been taken apart, so everything was probably going to be tight, and they usually use Loctite too, so it was always going to be a bit of a struggle. Thank God for leverage, because boy, I would not been able to get these out otherwise. So it's so awkward for the impact gun on there, especially to hold it tight. But you can just see how long the pipe was to actually undo them. It was pretty crazy. And then this was just quite funny. I didn't notice this until I was editing it. I just sprayed it all over the camera. But yeah, this bolt, I went to do it and it was so smooth. It was nice and easy. And then it was just taking the last bolt out and taking the head of it off to have a look at the diaphragm. And luckily there wasn't any damage or anything in there, which it shouldn't be, to be fair, but it was still one of them. But as we get a little bit deeper into the diaphragm, we can see where it was leaking, or should I say where like the edges of it had worn away over time, because there was a lot of hydraulic oil that was on this side, on the gas side of the diaphragm, when it shouldn't have been. But yeah, just inspecting it to see if there's any major cracks in it. But there was a few tears here and there, but nothing major. That's why they just wear over time. They're rubber, so it holds like 50 bar of pressure. So you can understand why they wear over time. And then it was just a case of inspecting the inside, make sure there's no damage, no abrasions, anything like that. Chances are that there's not going to be, but you know, it's always worth checking, especially if you're going to be this deep into a machine. Then it just makes sense. Might as well just cover all the bases, so after you put it back together, you don't have to be like, oh, I actually didn't check that. And then, as I said, there was a load of hydraulic oil on this side of the diaphragm, which obviously is a telltale sign of why it was losing gas. So I spent probably a good half an hour just cleaning it up with some Scotch-Brite, just to get the last little layers off, trying not to scratch anything. And you can see the edges where it come around the other side of it, and was just like, it was pretty caked in it, to be fair. I've not seen a diaphragm like this either. Usually they've either got like a little tear in it or something like that, so it was quite interesting for me to do. And then it was just a case of cleaning out all the excess, and like, I apologise for the light, but I literally couldn't see anything, and there were so many little bits in there that were just cheeky and hidden away, so it was quite tedious. But then just slapped it back on, because I knew I needed to take the rest of it apart, but I thought if I put the diaphragm back in and all the bolts back on, then hopefully it'd be a bit easier. I don't have to worry about scratching any surfaces or breaking the diaphragm or anything like that. So it's just a case of just dogging them right back up. And I had a look and there wasn't any torque, like specific torques for these, so I just did them to the point where they felt really, really tight. And I missed out a bit on the video where I actually undid these bolts. They were real tight as well to get the bar back on them, but then it was just a case of just disassembling them. And these things are pretty simple, to be fair. There's only really 3 major parts of them. You've got the tool holder at the end, which I think has a seal in it. You've got the piston that obviously runs through the main barrel, and that's what I was doing there, just checking it to make sure that there wasn't any chips or any sort of damage on there, because if there is any damage on there, then usually there'd be damage in the barrel, and then obviously like that's like it's not going to work, because all these things are machined very, very close, so any sort of chips or like chunks out of it, it will cause the seals to not work, it will hurt the pressure coming out of it, and all sorts of like little bits and pieces. So it's just checking that really. And then trying to get the bottom off was a bit of a pain in the ass. But the seal in the bottom of the piston, the wiper seal, was pretty easy to get off, so that was sound. And then like doing it with the piston, just checking the barrel just to make sure that there was nothing in there that was any debris or anything like that. And I did end up cleaning the top of these with some Scotch-Brite, because there was a load of like, I don't even know what was in there, to be fair. So it was also just making sure there was no debris when I was like reassembling it, because obviously that's just going to cause more problems. So the top of the piston as well is actually supposed to come out, but it did not want to move, so I was like, there's no point in forcing it. So here I'm just replacing the O-ring seal that was on there. Luckily there's no seals above it, it's just a flat surface at the top, so I was like, I should be alright. I didn't have anything to just like to put pressure on it to actually, that was not gonna like break it, so I was thought, yeah. And then here, just replacing the little O-rings on the top, and then trying to figure out if they went back in a certain way or not, but they don't, to be fair. Well, they didn't, they just were a bit of a bastard to get back in, but nothing too serious. After I took them out, I cleaned the top of it off for any debris, any like, I don't know, there was gunk and all sorts on there, and then just checking in the barrel again, just to make sure that I didn't get any bits in there, which I did. I did get some bits in there, to be fair. So I got the air compressor out and just blew out the rest of the debris, and there was some like other bits and pieces in there. Next up was replacing the wiper seal. I took this one out just because I thought I want to know how it works really. But yeah, putting the new one in was actually like fairly easy. I got a good tool for it, so it made my life like 10 times easier, because getting these wiper seals in can be proper annoying. The one that went in the bottom of the barrel though, I didn't get video of it. I deleted the video. I think it took me like 40 minutes of just me effing and jeffing, like absolutely livid about getting in, because every time I put it in and then slid the piston back in, it just popped straight back out, and I was like, why is it doing this? But I ended up getting there in the end. Perseverance is always key and all that. And then here, just reassembling then, and just being very careful not to scratch anything. And then it got all the way down. I slapped some Loctite back on the bolts, slid them in, and then just tightened them up like slowly, each side one at a time, so it come down and mated with the surface, made sure it didn't like squeeze any of the O-rings or anything like that, or any of the seals that I put back in. Because if they get pinched, then they're going to break and it's going to leak, and it's just headache and pain. So don't want that. But I just hand tightened them first of all, and then clean the tool holder. The end of it didn't really need much of a clean. I just thought I might as well whilst I'm here. And then yeah, just bang the bolts back in on the bottom, put some more Loctite on them, and tighten them right up. And then the hydraulic press water thing I bought, it's just made my life 10 times easier, especially with some of these tools that are just awkward to get into a vise, so it's a lot easier. And then yeah, it was just, once again, there wasn't any torques for these, so I just tightened them up to a point where they'd be nice and they ain't gonna come out. And they've got Loctite on them, so it's all good. And then next, the absolute torment of putting the handles back on. So these springs, they're double. They've got 2 springs inside of them, and they are so tense that when I put the bolt back in, it started to cross thread. But because I'd also got that Allen key bit stuck in the other side, I had to I couldn't put it in the back the way it came out, so it took me about an hour, and I had to go get my brother to come and help me, just to put some pressure on it, just so we could get the spring down and get the pivot pin back in. But oh my god, the pain, like physical pain, emotional pain, and also mental pain. And the worst thing was I didn't have to take it off, which made it even worse. After I looked at it and was like, I'm not making that mistake again. And like the handles were fine too, and the springs were okay. They were like A-okay. It's still fine after, but I could have saved myself like an hour or 2 of my life that I'm just never gonna get back. But you know, you live and learn. And then next, we just got on to regas. So I didn't get me actually setting up the rig, but if you are going to do this, then everybody's got their own way that they do it. So the first step is charge the accumulator. Charge the regulator. These bottles are like 200 bar, and we're only putting like 50 bar in, so you got to turn it and then adjust it so that you're only getting 50 bar on one side. I had to readjust it a few times. And then with this one, so after you get 50 bar on that side, then you close off the bottle so you don't get too much, because as I said, it's 200 bar. Make sure that the other regulator gauge is getting 50 bar. And then with this, it's a plunger, so you plunge it down, and that same Allen key that we use to undo to let the gas out, you plunge it down, and that has an Allen key on the end, and it twists it. So you're closing that 50 bar in the accumulator on the breaker. So it's pretty simple, to be fair, but you got to be careful because obviously it's such high pressure. You got to have all the right kit, and it isn't very cheap either. And then it's just letting the excess gas go that's in the black line. So you close the bottle off so there's nothing else coming out, and then just release the nitrogen that's in the other end. There's no other way to do it, to be fair. You can't reclaim it back in. And then once you close the bottle, then release all the gas that's in the regulator and in the lines, and then from there, after all the gas has been released, you can go ahead and disconnect the whole rig. And disconnecting it is definitely the easiest part. Like, this isn't the most simple setup I've got here, but for some of these breakers, they got such weird adapters on them that I just had to sort of get lines made up and all sorts. It was a bit of a faff, but is what it is. We got there at the end. And then yeah, last but not least is to try her out. So yeah, I know that there wasn't any chisel in it because I don't have one that fit this breaker, but there you go, it's working. But yeah, thanks for joining me today. Please like and subscribe for more like this, and I have some juicy more content on the way, so look forward to that. But yeah, thanks for joining me. Peace, have a nice day, and I'll catch you in the next one.